Welcome to today's video. In today's video, we finally have the ultimate update video on the $50,000 portfolio. We can take a look, especially for those of you who missed the last video. A month ago, at the end of July, I recorded a video where I had invested a total of $50,000 in the cryptocurrency market, simply to illustrate, especially for beginners among you or just for investors who are not particularly experienced in the market, how one can proceed. Of course, at the end of the day, it is my strategy. It is not an ultimate strategy that must be implemented exactly as is. This is just a guideline, it is not financial advice. But in today's video, I will simply give you a little update. On one hand, where does the portfolio stand? Which projects have performed particularly well? Which projects have performed particularly poorly? And which projects will be newly added? I often make videos on my YouTube channel where I show which altcoins I have repeatedly bought back. And of course, I want to implement this in the test portfolio as well. In the community portfolio that I set up back then, I will simply show how one can proceed. The entire portfolio will of course be documented throughout the entire bull run. Yes, it should also be mentioned that I will repeatedly show which moves I am currently making. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the moves during the bull run, and can follow along with which altcoins are being bought back. Perhaps also which altcoins I sell. In the meantime, we may need to make adjustments. A lot can happen during the bull run, which is why it's important to stay updated. So feel free to subscribe to not miss any further videos. Now, let's jump right into today's portfolio. Currently, the portfolio stands at $38,000. As mentioned, we started with $50,000. It should also be mentioned, especially for beginners out there, that in this case with the $50,000, this portfolio is a high-risk portfolio, meaning it has a really high-risk profile. The goal of this portfolio, as described in the title last time, will be to scale up from $50,000 to 1 million. Of course, it's an ambitious goal. Overall, it's a 20x. I definitely think a 10x is realistic, maybe even more. Therefore, it should be stated that we are dealing with high-risk projects here. This is not a typical portfolio with Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Casper, Ton, or whatever. Instead, we have specifically included hidden gems, really smaller projects that exhibit what you might call frog jump potential. That's why it's important to understand that you can't just copy the individual positions or replicate the portfolio one-to-one. Doing so would be a major mistake if you were to copy it exactly. There must first be a foundation in your own portfolio before you can really include such high-risk projects. This should be emphasized again, especially at the beginning, so that you are aware of it. Of course, I also have EVE and Solana in the portfolio, but that really only serves to maintain liquidity. This means that as soon as the bull market kicks in and the positions look better, I will use Ethereum and Solana to reduce positions here and shift into smaller projects. So these are not positions that I will really hold throughout the entire bull run, but in this case, this is really just the foundation in the portfolio so that you are informed. What is also important to understand is that I intentionally left some USDT aside because I knew that the market, or rather, I don't have a crystal ball, but I did so with the expectation that playing with the residual risk, the market could fall again, and for this reason, it is always important to keep some liquidity available, especially for short-term crashes like the one we are experiencing at the moment. We can see it in the portfolio performance. It is almost at an absolute all-time low, so we are at a real low point, and that's why I am making this video today, as it is particularly suitable for buying altcoins again. So, just so you know, I would generally always proceed this way. When the portfolio looks very red and is bleeding, it often makes the most sense to buy more rather than following other investors. I also pointed this out in the last video and on Twitter, where I showed that private investors, represented in pink, are being washed out of the market, while long-term investors, experienced investors, are buying more than ever. So, once again, we see that private investors are currently being chased away from the market, and this is certainly a fatal mistake that should be avoided. That's why I approach my strategy by trading counter-cyclically, which means I buy now when there is the most panic in the market. We also see that the Fiat Greed Index is in the absolute red zone with a value of 22, and for me personally, this is a very good indication that we are slowly but surely reaching the absolute bottom. Yes, because it is often the same indicators that trigger repeatedly. Therefore, we can take a look at the individual positions to see what has performed well and what has performed less well. Just to clarify before I address specific positions, it is completely normal for individual positions to drop by 50% at times. So this is completely normal, and I want to point this out here because often numbers are concealed in YouTube videos. With other YouTubers, it's always just talk about how much profit they make or something else, but no one really shows what it's truly like, what the bitter reality really looks like. It's completely normal to aim for such high goals. When you say, hey, I want to take 10x or 20x during the upcoming bull run, it's perfectly normal to experience significant setbacks in between. So, it should be said at this point The idea that you buy in and then the bull run starts and you only see green numbers in your portfolio is complete nonsense. So if anyone tries to tell you that they only make profits and are making star profits every week throughout the entire summer, that is usually absolute nonsense. It is completely normal for a buy and hold investor, meaning someone who simply buys and leaves the position, to see their portfolio suffer during such market phases. This is also what I highlight in the videos. One needs psychological resilience to endure these market phases so that at the end of the day, one can be rewarded. It is really an important approach to take that one must also endure such numbers in the portfolio, 23%. Of course, it doesn't look pretty, but that's how you have to proceed. Right now, yes, when the portfolio is bleeding especially hard, as we can see here, at an absolute low point, you should definitely take advantage of the situation when prices are a bit cheaper. So much for the general strategy. I've talked a lot in advance. Now let's get into the specific positions, what has happened, what I particularly like, and what I might not like as much. Overall, the individual positions are holding up more or less well, especially in Tao Nakamoto games and AI tech, which are clearly down about 30-40%. In my opinion, that's not particularly bad, it's just part of the game. That's why I left some capital remaining to lower the prices again, essentially to get a better entry price for the individual positions. Sure, there are some positions that are significantly in the red, like GG Protocol and Rio, but I mentioned in the last video that we didn't invest much capital in those absolute hidden gems, around 600 or 700, which is relatively little compared to the total investment. Yes, especially with IT Protocol or GT Protocol, Gamer Arena, or the projects that are currently heavily in the red, like Heroes of Maria. We can take a look at all of them. In this case, they are certainly bleeding out significantly. We can take a look at IT Protocol as well. The question here is, especially in a case like IT Protocol, whether the entire project is, in my opinion, a complete top or flop project. It is quite possible that IT Protocol shoots up during the bull run from 10 million to 100 million and then from 100 million to 700 million, whatever the case may be. So that could easily be a 70x that one could theoretically take, but it could also be that IT Protocol completely leaves us and essentially dies in that case. It is also possible that such a project may never recover, but that is why we are diversified into various hidden gem projects with explosive potential. So, IT Protocol has also been heavily punished in this case. Now the question is, when is the bottom in? But I think we are slowly reaching the bottom in the areas of a 10 million market cap. I still like the project itself and the tokenomics, so I still have confidence in the project, but I just let such hidden gem positions run. So that you are aware, I am no longer actively buying to drive down the price. These are really positions that I enter once. They have the potential of a Knollfrosch firecracker. Either the project succeeds or it doesn't, and it's important to understand that, whether it's 8 Protocol, GT Protocol, or 01 Labs. They all look relatively similar, all are dying off and going up, but I can tell you this. It only takes one single project, just one project, to really succeed with a 10, 20, 30, or 40x return, and all the other projects will essentially be eliminated. So this is simply an approach I am following now in the portfolio, which includes various hidden gem projects, meaning small projects, and if only one position goes up with $500 in this case, for example. Currently, we are in 0 Labs with $440. If a 10x, 20x, or even 40x occurs here, then all the other positions will be balanced out. Yes, and that's how one should proceed according to the strategy. One can by no means expect that with hidden gem projects, somehow every second project will succeed, or I don't know, 8 out of 10 projects will succeed. So this is not necessarily an approach that one can follow. Most of the time, it is rather the smaller part that really takes off. Sure, there are some projects that might return to their last all-time high, but often it is the case that 1 or 2 absolute outliers balance out the entire other portfolio, and that's why this is a position I will let run. I am still convinced about Heroes of Mavia, and I am still convinced about IT Protocol, GT Protocol, Realio Rio as well. This is even a project I had considered buying more of because the projects themselves are evolving, they are still active, and they are still doing marketing. Therefore, sooner or later, when the hype returns for real-world assets or AI projects, these projects will also see a strong increase. We will benefit from this, of course to varying degrees, but I will still let the projects run. The other projects are still fine. Beambread, absolute top projects. I will also partially buy more of. Now, let's talk about the projects that I will be buying more of. I know we already have quite a few projects, but they will also be reallocated and sold off during the bull run. So, for some hidden gem projects, as soon as they are back to break even or have 2 or 3 times the investment, I will sell them off relatively quickly, reallocate and invest in emerging projects. That is definitely the plan. Of course, some of you need to be careful with the 1-year holding period, especially in Germany, if you want to sell cryptocurrencies almost tax-free. That is certainly a perspective to keep in mind, but in this case with the demo portfolio, I will proceed in a way that I really try to maximize the potential without having to adhere to any deadlines, because it is not real money anyway. I can approach this as I see fit. How you then implement it in your own portfolio, you will have to consider carefully. Make good decisions. Of course, when making moves like selling individual positions after 3 or 4 months, one must always keep in mind, especially when in Germany, that there is a 1-year holding period. This is definitely a point I wanted to mention. Now let's talk about the projects that I will be buying more of. We are now coming to the first project where I personally see incredible potential. I am not being paid by the project or anything like that, but I really like the project itself, which is OpenGPU, also a hidden gem in this case. It is still at the very beginning with a market cap of 11 million, which is nothing. I have mentioned it repeatedly in my individual videos and I am still extremely convinced. What we have here is truly a project that has held up very strongly throughout the entire summer slump. Many DeepIn projects were heavily punished throughout the entire summer. For example, we can take a look at other DeepIn projects. Render, for example, has also been heavily punished. We have dropped from $12 to $5 in the meantime, which is a 50% decrease in this case. However, OpenGPU is holding up extremely well, especially for its size. We are talking about the project with an 11 million market cap. The chart is already impressive. I can gladly do a detailed deep dive for you, but the loading phase here looks really solid. It's almost like the beginning of an exponential curve, as I keep saying. Therefore, yes, it is a project that I would like to include, and that is why I would like to add OpenGPU as a new project to the portfolio. For this reason, we will sell 2000 USD here. We can take a look now. We have USCT here, so we can now buy OpenGPU with the 2000 USD. I'm doing this live for you, so you can see how I personally approach it. Now you can see it. 2248 open GPUs for a price of $89 amounts to a total of $2,000. We can add that this is essentially a new position, making it relatively large as well. And of course, one could argue, hey Vincent, how come OpenGPU is now such a small hidden gem project in the allocation, essentially getting an amount of $2,000, which is already relatively large? In my opinion, the closer we get to the bull run, the more targeted bets I want to make, especially on projects that have proven themselves more or less well recently. You can quickly see which projects to bet on and which ones to avoid. If I see that a project is delivering so strongly, I am also willing to make a more targeted bet with a higher risk. We are still dealing with a portfolio where I want to achieve a 20x return at the end of the day, so I still want to scale the whole thing up to a portfolio size of 1 million, and for that, you simply have to make more targeted bets, betting with a higher risk. Then we will talk about the next project, Casper, as I would like to take a position to bring a bit of stability to the portfolio. I have also mentioned Casper repeatedly in my YouTube videos. It has proven itself very well on the chart. Here, we have come back a bit. We can see that we had a mini dip in between, but we are also seeing one all-time high after another. This speaks for itself. So overall, we are building a position here, which is why we are selling USDT, so EOS, and now buying more Casper worth. That's why you see here a total of US dollar, which we are now buying more of in Casper, so that everything works out. It is therefore also one of the largest positions in the portfolio, as it naturally brings a certain level of stability. Next, I would like to include the project Signally, which I find incredibly appealing based on the chart. It has also pulled back a bit recently. This is a project that I have mentioned repeatedly in my YouTube videos. I want to invest another 1200 USD here. 1200 USD will be sold. You can also see that Signally is being purchased with a 1200 USD transaction. We can also see new positions in the portfolio, which is relatively large. However, throughout the entire summer lull, we can see which positions are performing very well. Casper, Signally, so you can see that my strategy is based on identifying the winners during poorer market phases. Especially when the cryptocurrency market is really bleeding, it often becomes clear which projects have a strong core of investors who have a strong belief in the project and which projects do not have that. That's why I am increasingly buying into projects that have held up well. I also wanted to let you know that about a month ago, I recorded a video about Casper, OpenGPU, Signally, and Octaspace. These are the projects I am currently buying more of simply because they have held up extremely well over the summer. This is an indication that the projects that are stable now usually have the perfect and best foundation for the upcoming bull run to perform well. Now let's move forward a bit quicker. I will also include 3 memes. Once Popcat, once Maga, and once Hoppy Hoppy, just a bit as a high risk play, are still completely at the beginning, so one has to be extremely careful. I actually like it quite a bit from a meme perspective. Then there's Mager simply because of the Trump situation. If Trump were to win, I think this thing would go completely through the roof. Here we have also reached a kind of bottom. On a monthly basis, we can see quite clearly that a sort of bottom formation has taken place. 2001 and Popcat are among the top memes at the moment on the Solana chain. $500 million market cap, 800 USDT are being sold for Popcat. Here you see 800 US dollars being bought. Popcat, 600 US dollars are being sold for Maga. Here you see 600 US dollars for Maga. While I'm at it, I'm also actively buying more coins. If the question arises about where I personally buy my coins, I can confidently recommend COINEX. At this time, you can still receive a 60 USD cashback voucher if you sign up using the link in my video description. Of course, I would also support myself and my YouTube channel in that regard, and you really have the best selection when it comes to altcoins. So you will find some altcoins that I have bought in today's video. Now let's continue the video. 500 USD will be sold for hobby. 500 USCT hobby will be purchased. So now we have definitely added some positions to the portfolio. What I was also considering was Tectum. I also like it very much at the moment. However, I want to wait and see what happens with the chart here. It could also drop back to $5, and I really liked Banagun because it is somewhat of a leveraged bet on Solana. Especially in the entire meme coin space, you can bet on an infrastructure project here, but I have intentionally not included that. Instead, I have included Popcat so that you are informed about it. Now we have a relatively balanced portfolio, and we currently have quite a few coins. You don't need to write in the comments, "Hey Vincent, that's too many. What are you doing? Too many positions, too strong a board." I know there are currently too many, but it will also decrease again. As soon as the bull run in 2021 picks up a bit again and individual positions, especially the meme projects, start to see liquidity flowing in, one will be able to take profits relatively quickly and then also shift investments fairly swiftly. Therefore, I will be making more reallocations in the near future. This would exceed the scope of today's video, so I prefer to make an update video in 2 or 3 weeks, so you are informed. You can already leave a like and subscribe at this point, as there will be quite a bit coming your way. I will also be buying more positions, so I will continue to provide updates for you. I have also considered making additional purchases in today's video because in my opinion, I now have a good overview of the positions and I am satisfied. So I have everything included that I want. I have represented RWA projects, I have represented memes, AI projects, and I have included 1 or 2 gaming projects as well. Yes, the pin projects are strongly represented, and we also have layer 1 in the portfolio. Overall, I really like the portfolio. In my opinion, it is extremely good. Please make sure to write in the comments what you think about today's positions, which positions might still be missing. Just so you know, in the next video, in the next update, new coins will not necessarily be added to the portfolio, because I am already relatively satisfied. In the next video, only existing positions will be bought back, so right now in the bidding order, one could consider buying more. AI tech can be bought back repeatedly, as well as deeper projects like IXSwap. In my opinion, the projects that are currently showing a bit more of a loss can be good to buy back. I just wanted to make sure to include 1 or 2 new projects today, especially those that have performed well. I will most likely buy back into the Octa space in the next video, so you are informed. Be sure to tune in next time. We still have 8,000 UCT left, which means there is still quite a bit to do in the coming days and weeks. I want to take full advantage of September to buy more, because in my opinion, as mentioned earlier, the bull run is starting in the near future. Sooner or later the bull run will start. It is no longer a question of whether the bull run will come, but rather a question of when the bull will arrive and how strong the bull run will be. Therefore, I will take full advantage of September and early October to buy more before this parabolic upswing really takes place. This is definitely my strategy, and how I am currently proceeding. What you ultimately decide to do is, of course, up to you. Yes, this is not financial advice at this point. I am not being paid by any of these projects, just so you know. So don't think that I'm including projects here just because I'm being paid or anything like that. Everything here is my personal opinion. That's definitely it for today's video. Feel free to write in the comments which positions you particularly liked or which positions might be missing, and I would say thank you for your attention, and I'll see you again in the next video.